Welcome back my kings and queens, and welcome to this video where I will go ahead and show you how to create a headlight. For this tutorial we will go ahead and use the RS7 model, as this is a headlight where you need to go ahead and know a lot of techniques, so that after this video you can definitely go ahead and create almost every other headlight. If you want to go ahead and follow with this tutorial as best as possible, you can go ahead and download this Audi RS7 file by going into the YouTube announcement channel on my Discord server, as you can go ahead and download it from there. If you're interested in the complete creation of a 3D car in Blender from the first vertex to the final render, then you can go ahead and check out my full step-by-step course with the link in my description. And now let's go ahead and start right into the modeling of this headlight. So the first thing that you definitely need when you want to go ahead and create the headlight is to have all of the car parts finished to which the headlight has a connection. As from right now you can go ahead and see that between these three objects right here you now have the exact hole that you need to model the headlight. Then you can go ahead and select the car body, press tab to go into the edit mode, and now you need to go ahead and select all of these vertices right here. And the easiest way to do this is to hold Alt and clicking on an edge. So for example on this edge right here, as like this, you can go ahead and select the complete edge loop. Then to duplicate these vertices you of course go ahead and press Shift and D for duplication. As you do not want to move the duplicated vertices, go ahead and press right click to leave the vertices at the same place. Like this, only the duplicated vertices are selected, so you can go ahead and press P to open up the separate menu, and go ahead and click on selection to create a new object containing the duplicated vertices. Then go ahead and press tab to go back into the object mode, and in the outliner at the top right go ahead and select paint 0.001, and by clicking F2 you can go ahead and rename this object, and you probably want to go ahead and rename this one to headlight, and press enter. Then it's go ahead and again press tab to go into the edit mode of the headlight. And the first thing that I do on every headlight that I create is to press A to select all, then I go ahead and press F to fill in the face, then I go ahead and press I to insert the face, and I set it just a little to a point around here. Then let's go ahead and rotate over view a little bit. Then we can go ahead and move this face a little bit to the right, and if you do not have these arrows right here you can go ahead and press T, and at the left side you need to go ahead and click on the symbol right here. So when you have these arrows, go ahead and move this a little bit back with the green arrow so that you move this only on the y-axis. And now to create a complete room inside of the headlight, let's go ahead and press E and then Y to extrude this face only on the y-axis, and let's go ahead and extrude it to a point around here. Now we of course have an angle at this area right here, which is not quite the best, and an easy way to go ahead and create as many quads as possible is to go ahead and press Ctrl and T to first triangulate all of these faces, and then go ahead and press Alt and J to enable triangles to quads, and let's go ahead and bump up these values all the way to 180. And just like this you can see that we're left with only one single triangle and with 3 quads, which is exactly what we need. Alright, then let's go ahead and press Alt and A to deselect all, and with this you've already created the inside of the headlight. The next thing that you need to go ahead and create is the transparent part of the headlight. You want to go ahead and create the transparent part in the next step. As with the transparent part we can go ahead and guide all of the other parts that we want to go ahead and create, as the transparent part will be the boundary. For the transparent part we need to go ahead and duplicate all of the outline vertices, and we can just go ahead and do this the same just like we did it before. So go ahead and with Alt click on this edge right here, press Shift and D, right click, press P and click on selection, press tab to go back into the edit mode and rename this one to headlight transparent. Press tab to go back into the edit mode, and now we need to go ahead and fill in this area. So let's go ahead and take both of these vertices right here and press F to create a face right here. Then let's go ahead and with Ctrl and R add in a loop cut to this area right here, and with double G slide it a little bit to the right side. Take both of these vertices right here and press F twice. Then we can go ahead and add in a loop cut to right here. As we are creating some edges we can go ahead and slide this loop cut up, and go ahead and slide this up to a point around here. As you can barely see in the reference image that this point right here, which is the line of edges that we have created just right now, is the rightest part of the headlight. And so now we can go ahead and with all of these vertices selected, deselect and select this vertex again. So now that this vertex right here becomes the active element, and by pressing period you can go ahead and change the pivot point to active element, and with this vertex being now the pivot point we can go ahead and press S and then Y to scale up all of the rest of the vertices to the pivot point to a point around here. And then we can go ahead and take these 4 vertices right here and press F, and we can go ahead and easily create a triangle on this area right here. And by rotating our view, this is looking fine as it is right now, so we're good to go right here. Now of course you cannot see the inside, so you can go ahead and select the headlight transparent part and press H to hide it, so we can go ahead and continue on the inside of the headlight. So as the next step, when we go ahead and take a look on the reference image, there's not really a rule on which part you need to go ahead and create next, but in this case I would go ahead and recommend to recreate this chrome thing right here. So it is this line that starts at the top right here, has a bending at this point right here and goes all the way to the right side. So let's go ahead and try to recreate this. Therefore let's go ahead and select the headlight part, press tab to go into the edit mode, and let's go ahead and with alt and by clicking on this edge, make sure that we select this complete edge loop, press shift and D to duplicate the edge loop, press right click to leave it at the same place, press P and click on selection, and then you can go ahead and rename this part to headlight chrome. Let's go ahead and go back into the edit mode, press numpad 1 to go into the front view. Now we need to go ahead and recreate this line that I'm drawing with my mouse right here. For this we of course need to go ahead and add in a loop cut to this area right here, and by leaving the loop cut in the middle, we are probably already matching with this point in this reference image right here, so we're good to go. Then let's go ahead and press 2 to go into the edge selecting mode, select this edge right here, press X and click on edges, as you don't need a connection right here, and let's go ahead and do the same with this edge right here. Then go ahead and press 1 to go back into the vertex select mode and select these vertices right here, as we now can go ahead and move these vertices up to a point around here. As we probably need to go ahead and rotate this a little bit, we can go ahead and change the pivot point back to medium point, press R for rotation, and we can go ahead and rotate it a little bit and then move this up a little bit more. Then we can go ahead and select both of these vertices right here and press F to create a connection, and we have moved these vertices from the bottom up to right here, as these vertices of course have the exact same banding like the headlight and the transparent part. So the only thing that we need to go ahead and make sure is that these vertices right here do not stick through the transparent part, and you can go ahead and test it by activating the transparent part, and you can see that the vertices are sticking through. So let's go ahead and move them back until you cannot see them anymore. And as I still can see this vertex right here, go ahead and select it and move this to the left side, and you're good to go. Then you can go ahead and again hide the transparent part, and let's go ahead and take a look at right here. Now we of course have a little bit of an unnatural banding right there, so you can go ahead and move this one a little bit to the front and this one just a little bit to the back to fix up this area right here. Then of course you don't need all of the vertices at the top, but before we go ahead and delete all of these vertices, let's go ahead and add in a loop cut to right here and slide this just a little bit to the left side so that we can go ahead and create the thickness. After this we can go ahead and select all of these vertices right here, press X and click on vertices. Let's go ahead and select both of these vertices as well and move them just a little bit to the back, as we have also moved this vertex a little bit to the back. So let's first go ahead and then select all of these vertices right here, and in the front view you can go ahead and shoot them up to a point around here. Then we can go ahead and create one more face at this point right here. Now we can just go ahead and make sure that the thickness is around the same size by sliding this vertex right here with double G. Then we can go ahead and with Alt select all of the upper vertices and move them back just a little bit to a point around here. Then we can go ahead and press A to select all, press E and Y to shoot them on the Y axis, and let's go ahead and shoot them all the way back until they disappear behind the headlight. And when you go ahead and rotate your view into the inside, you should see all of these faces right here, which will never be seen. So you can go ahead and press X and click on faces to save up some space. Let's go ahead and rotate our view back to the front, and just like this, we have already created this chrome thing right here. Now by taking another look at the headlight, you also have these things right here, and in this case we can't go ahead and duplicate any vertices to recreate this thing right here, so we need to go ahead and add in a new object. And as this is also a chrome part, we will go ahead and add in the object inside of the edit mode of the headlight chrome object. So go ahead and press Shift and A to open up the mesh menu, and in this case you can go ahead and add in a cube or a plane, but of course you don't want to go ahead and add in a circle or a cylinder, as with a circle or a cylinder you could not go ahead and match up with the shape of this thing that you need to go ahead and recreate. So let's go ahead and add in a cube to the scene. As we have the mirror modifier with clipping enabled, we can't go ahead and move out the cube out of the middle. So before you can go ahead and move the cube, head over into the modifiers tab and disable clipping. Then you can go ahead and move the cube out, and then go ahead and just enable clipping again. Let's go ahead and also move the cube a little bit to the front, and let's go ahead and with S scale down the cube first to a size around here, move it to right here. Then we can also go ahead and press S and X, scale down the cube on the X axis to a point around here. Then we can go ahead and select this edge right here, move it a little bit to the front. And now to create this triangle thing right here, we can go ahead and add in a loop cut and slide this down to a point around here. Then select this edge right here and move this all the way to the front. And just like this, you can see that the shape right here is almost identical to the shape right here. You can only go ahead and make it look a little bit better by, for example, scaling it down down a little bit more on the x-axis. Then we need to go ahead and make sure that the back faces stick through the headlights, so go ahead and select them and move them back. And at this point you can already go ahead and delete the faces, as they will never be seen. And you can go ahead and easily select only this object right here by hovering over this object right here and pressing L to select all of the linked vertices. As if you would go ahead and press A, you would also go ahead and select this part right here, which is of course not correct. Let's go ahead and move this thing into place, first to a point around here. Then we of course need to go ahead and check with the transparent part, and we're of course sticking through. So let's first go ahead and again hide this. And as this part right here probably is also rotated a little bit, let's go ahead and press R and then Z, rotate it on the Z axis to a point around here. Let's go ahead and again check with the transparent headlight, and this is looking fine, just like this. Of course this part is not completely chrome, as you have some black parts in the middle right here. So let's go ahead and also recreate this one. So by pressing 3 you can go ahead and go into the face selection mode, then go ahead and with shift select all of these faces right here. And now you can go ahead and press I to insert the faces and then set them to a point around here. And as these faces right here should be black, you can go ahead and separate these faces into a new object by pressing P and click on selection. And then you can go ahead and leave the edit mode, select the headlight chrome 0.001 and rename this one to headlight black. Now you of course also need the same thing at the bottom right here. So in the object mode with the headlight black already selected, with shift also select the headlight chrome, press tab, go into the edit mode, and with L go ahead and select all of the parts that you need to duplicate, and in this case it is all of these parts right here. Then let's go ahead and press number 1 to go into the front view, press shift and D to duplicate all of these vertices, press Z to duplicate them down only on the Z axis as the first step. Then we need to go ahead and move this to the front to a point around here, and I guess this was a little bit too much with the transparent headlight, and it was actually not, so we're good to go right here. Let's go ahead and hide this again, and we probably need to go ahead and move this just a little bit to the left side, and this is looking great right here. So now we can go ahead and again check with the transparent headlight, and this is looking fine, so we're good to go right here. Alright, let's go ahead and press tab to go back into the object mode, press Alt and A to deselect all, and the headlight is already taking its shape. Now to recreate the headlight itself, if you go ahead and zoom in into a part right here, you can see that it's basically a cube which was scaled down on the x-axis and scaled up on the z-axis. So therefore let's go ahead and with shift and A, open up the add menu, head over to mesh and add in a new cube to the scene. In this case we can go ahead and press tab to go into the edit mode and move the cube to the right and already to the front without disabling the clipping option inside of the mirror modifier, as on this new object we don't have a mirror modifier. Then go ahead and scale down the cube to the size of one segment and go ahead and move this to a point around where it needs to be. So the size should be around at this point right here. You can also go ahead and move this just a little bit to the back. And in the first step we actually do not want a cube, as we only want this face right here at the front. So let's go ahead and try to select the back face and press X and click on vertices so that we're only left with this plane right here. Then if you want to go ahead and recreate the headlight as it is on the real car, you will go ahead and count the segments that you have. In this case it is 11 headlights. So let's go ahead and press number 1. Let's go ahead and press Z to open up the shading menu and click on wireframe so you can go ahead and see this a little bit better in the wireframe mode. Then go ahead and press shift and D and X so you can only go ahead and duplicate it on the X axis. And let's go ahead and first try to duplicate it to a point around here. And now we do not want to press shift and D again and then X, but you can go ahead and repeat the last step that you have done with shift and R, and just like this the distance in between the segments is the same. And go ahead and press shift and R all the way to the left side, so to a point around here. Of course you need to go ahead and move the segments down, but let's first go ahead and count the segments that you have created, and actually it is 15, so we have a little bit too much segments. So let's go ahead and with Control and Z undo this, and in this case we can probably go ahead and press S and X to scale up the segment just a little bit, then press shift and D and X again, and let's go ahead and move this a little bit more to the left side so that the space right here is a little bit bigger, and then press shift and R again all the way to the end. And just like this we have 11 segments, which is exactly the amount that we also have at the reference image. So from this point right here we can go ahead and work on the headlight, and what you want to go ahead and do in the next step is to place the segments to where they need to be. So let's go ahead and do the first one together. So of course we need to go ahead and select this edge right here and move this a little bit to the back, and we can go ahead and move this a little bit to the front. Let's go ahead and take a look from the front, and we can go ahead and move down this edge right here, and we can go ahead and select this vertex, press double G to slide this up, and then C to extend the line. So you can go ahead and slide this down to right here. Then we need to go ahead and do the same with this vertex right here, and then the only thing that is left to do is to take this vertex and move this a little bit back to right here to get the same banding. And on this headlight, for example, you need to go ahead and redo the step all the way to the left side, but as this is the same step over and over again, we will go ahead and do this a little bit faster. Alright, just like this, the basic shape is already recreated, and as the next step, I go ahead and select this object right here, press tab to go into the edit mode, press A to select all, then I go ahead and press E and Y to shoot it back a little bit on the Y axis. Then we can go ahead and separate these faces into a new object, so let's go ahead and do this. Then let's go ahead and select the new object and select all of the faces and press E and Y to shoot them all the way back to a point where they start to disappear inside of the headlight. And let's go ahead and take a look from the inside of the headlight, and these faces right here you can go ahead and again delete. And on this part right here in the reference image is again black, so you can go ahead and press tab to go back into the object mode, select cube 0.001, and let's go ahead in the outliner, select headlight black. With control, move your mouse back into the blender scene and press Ctrl and J to join both of these objects together. And if you now would go ahead and press tab, go into the edit mode and A to select all, you can see that the black parts right here and the black parts right here are in the same collection. Then we can go ahead and take the cube, rename this one to daytime running lights. And we can also go ahead and move them inside of the R7 collection. And I guess at this point right here, you've already understood the technique behind creating headlights and how you can go ahead and recreate them without using a blueprint and all the reference images. So in the next step, you could go ahead and create this chrome thing at the top right here. You could go ahead and create this blue thing right here. Some more chrome elements at this part right here. And of course the headlight itself, which is a bit more visible in this reference image right here, which is basically just a cube with a circle in it for the light bulb. So now this will be the task for you to recreate, and at the end the headlight should look something like this. Alright my kings and queens, if you're now interested in how to create a complete low poly car from the first vertex to the final render, you can go ahead and check out my detailed step-by-step beginner course where we have recreated this low poly car. Make sure to go ahead and join my Discord server, and do not forget to subscribe to my channel so that you do not miss any new videos. I wish you all the best for the future, and we will see us in the next video.